In today's video, we're going to learn how to upgrade the firmware for a Mofi 5500 series router. The process is very similar for the older previous version, the 4500, and we'll point out some of the differences there. The router we're using today for this example is the 5500 series model 9191. Right now, that's the top of the line router. It is a 5G version, 5G capable, and the firmware on it is a little bit older, so that's what we're going to upgrade today. Before we begin and get too far into this, it is important to note that when doing a firmware upgrade or other what we would call a critical function like this, it is best to have your computer plugged into the router with an Ethernet cable, directly plugged in. It is not recommended to use Wi-Fi. I should note that you can do it over Wi-Fi, but it's a little bit more frustrating and there's a couple of extra steps to that. So today we will be doing this with the computer directly plugged in to the router with an Ethernet cable, and suggest very much that you do the same. Start by going to the Mofi website, which up here you can see is mofinetwork.com. Once there, click on the Support tab, and then we're going to click on Downloads and Updates. Now here's one place you're going to want to notice the difference. We are using the 5500, the newer version. All of the models for the 5500 series all use the same firmware, so that's very easy. If you are using the previous 4500 version, you will notice that there are different firmwares depending on the version of the 4500 you have. The way to find that out is look on the sticker on the back. You'll find the model number, and then right at the end of that, you're either going to see nothing or you're going to see V2 or V3. If you see that, go to the appropriate download page. If there's nothing there, then it is a version 1. But again, we're using the 5500, so that's what we're going to look at today. Here's the software download page, or excuse me, the firmware download page. We're going to want to go right here where we can see the latest release at the time of this video was just a few days ago, April 20th, 2022. The version is 4.0.1. Here's the download link to download the actual file that you will need, which I've already done. And then one thing that you will want to take a look at is this MD5 and the checksum. Take note of these numbers. You'll see they're the same thing. We're just going to take note of the last few digits of it, in this case 4D14, and that'll come in handy in just a minute. Now we want to go to our router after we've downloaded the file. The default IP address for the router is 192.168.10.1, which will bring up this login page. By default, if you haven't changed it, the password is admin, which will log us in. At the top, you can notice what the current firmware is. On this particular unit, is currently at 3.2.7, so we want to upgrade to that newer, latest one. To do that, go to the System menu, and down here you will see Backup or Flash the firmware. We'll click on that. We're going to scroll down here to Flash New Firmware Image. This is where you will choose the file that you just downloaded. Okay, I have chosen the file, and you can see where it's loaded in here. The next thing is to click the Flash Image button, and that's going to take just a moment to upload that firmware to the router. Once it does, we want to look at the MD5, the checksum number, and notice that it is 4D14, which matches what the manufacturer is saying it's supposed to be. That basically tells us that the file has not been corrupted. It is a real and genuine version, not a fake from somewhere. This firmware is good to go. So we're going to go ahead and click Proceed on that. And this is going to take about 5 to 10 minutes to flash that firmware. So once it's done, we'll come back and do a couple more settings and things that you should do to complete the process. Okay, that upgrade has completed, and we are back to the login page. It is important to note here again that I am connected to this router directly with a cable. That is recommended to connect to it with a cable rather than using the Wi-Fi during an upgrade. This helps with not letting the file corrupt or errors happen, etc. All right, once we're back to that login page, just log in again. The next step is going to be to go back to the system menu, and we're going to want to do a factory default. Now, you do not absolutely have to do this if you don't wish to. However, it is highly recommended based on the recommendations of the engineers at Mofi. Once you do a firmware upgrade, you should perform the factory reset to make sure there are no lingering settings or features or things that are not supposed to be there anymore. When doing the factory reset, you can, if you wish, and if you are using the cloud link and remote management, you can click to keep those. That's not a setting that we use by default, so we're going to leave that off and just go ahead and do a reset. It'll ask you, are you sure? Yes, we are sure. We want to do a factory reset. So this will take just a couple minutes. We'll be back once again in a moment. Okay, that factory reset has completed at this point, so it automatically brought us back to the main login page. Again, I want to point out that if you were doing this by Wi-Fi, which is not recommended, you would not be brought back automatically. We just did a factory reset, which does reset the Wi-Fi names and passwords back to factory defaults. That is something that you will want to change right away, so please reference our other videos on setting up Wi-Fi, setting and checking the APNs, as well as doing the selective or speed band locks. Those are all things you should do after this. However, we've logged in. We now see that the firmware is up to date to the latest firmware that is available as of the day of this video. And we have an IP address, so it has detected the chip and went back online. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please like the video and subscribe to our channel so that we can provide additional instructional videos on other topics. Have a great day.